My wife cheated with her boss for a year, but when I found out my two daughters lied to cover it up, I disinherited them, canceled my daughter's $50K wedding, and left them all speechless. I'm 52 years old. I was married for 30 years. Or, well, I was, and what happened a month ago basically destroyed everything I thought was my life. I'm sitting in my brother Thomas's house writing this because I need to get it out of my system. I need someone to understand why I cut off contact with my entire family, with my wife Sarah, with my two daughters Emma and Lily, with everyone. People tell me I'm overreacting, that families make mistakes, that I should forgive. But they have no idea what it feels like when the three women you loved most in the world stab you in the back and don't even have the decency to truly be sorry. I guess I should start from the beginning. Sarah and I met in college. We were like 22 years old, and it was one of those nice stories. You know, we fell in love fast, got married young, had Emma when we were 26, and Lily 2 years later. I thought we had a good marriage. I mean, not perfect, because none of them are, but good. Solid. I worked hard. She did too. We raised our daughters together, went to their ballet recitals and their graduations, and all those things normal families do. Emma was our overachiever. Valedictorian of her class, super smart, always so serious and responsible. Lily was more laid back, sweet, spontaneous, the one who made you laugh when you were in a bad mood. I adored them. I literally would have done anything for my girls. Anything. Things started getting weird like 6 months ago, but looking back, I should have seen it coming earlier. Sarah got a new job a year and a half ago, a good position at a marketing company, and her boss was this guy, David, like 45 years old, divorced, the classic successful man with an inflated ego. She mentioned him often, like David says this. David thinks that. And I didn't think much of it because I trusted her. You know what I mean? We'd been together 30 years, we had 2 adult daughters. It never crossed my mind that something could be going on. She started staying late at the office more often, going out with coworkers on Fridays, being on her phone more, but I thought it was her new job, that she was excited about her career. What an idiot I was. Seriously. Exactly a month ago, on a Friday night, Sarah was in the shower and her phone rang. It was on the kitchen table, and the screen lit up with a message. I'm not one of those people who check their partner's phones. I'd never done it, but something about the way the message was worded made me stop. It said something like, "Can't stop thinking about last night," with a heart emoji, and the contact name was just D. I felt like a punch in the stomach. You know that feeling? When your brain already knows the truth but doesn't want to accept it. I picked up the phone. It didn't have a password because there was never a reason to distrust, and I opened the conversation. There were flirty messages, nothing explicit yet in that first quick look, but enough to confirm that something was going on between my wife and her boss, David. I put the phone back exactly as it was and stood there in the kitchen trying to process what I'd just seen. Sarah came out of the shower like 20 minutes later, all dressed up, in that blue dress she loves, and told me she was going out to dinner with Emma and Lily, that the girls wanted to have a girls' night. She kissed me on the cheek, grabbed her purse and left. I just stood there like a zombie, literally couldn't move a muscle. Then I thought, wait, if she says she's going to be with the girls, I can easily verify that. I called Emma. Her phone rang and rang until it went to voicemail. I tried Lily, same thing. Neither one answered. That's when it occurred to me to check Sarah's location. We had one of those family apps to share locations, something we'd set up years ago when the girls were teenagers, and we wanted to know where they were for safety, and we'd never removed it. I opened the app and saw that Sarah was at an Italian restaurant on the other side of town, a kind of fancy one we'd never been to. I checked Emma and Lily's locations. Emma was at her apartment. Lily was at hers. Neither was near the restaurant where they were supposedly having their girls' dinner with their mother. I don't know how to describe what I felt in that moment. It was like the floor was opening up beneath my feet. Not only was Sarah lying to me, my daughters were lying for her too. My daughters, the girls I raised, who hugged me and told me "I love you, Daddy," were actively covering for her. I got in the car. I don't even know how I managed to drive because my hands were shaking so much I could barely hold the steering wheel. And I drove to that restaurant. I got there like 30 minutes later, parked where I could see the entrance, but they couldn't see me. and I waited. 15 minutes later, I saw them come out. Sarah and David, walking together, and he had his arm around her waist in a way that left no room for doubt. They stopped at the restaurant entrance. He hugged her, she laughed at something he said, and then they held hands and walked toward the parking lot. I took out my phone and took pictures. Several pictures. My hands were shaking so much that half came out blurry, but some were perfectly clear. Sarah and David holding hands, Sarah laughing, Sarah letting him kiss her on the cheek. I had all the evidence I needed. I sat in my car for what seemed like hours, but was probably just minutes, trying to decide what to do. Then I opened our family chat. The one we had, Sarah, Emma, Lily, and I sent one of the clearest photos. I didn't write anything elaborate, just put interesting girls' dinner and went to Thomas's house. My brother opened the door and immediately knew something was very wrong. I told him everything while he poured me a whiskey that I drank in one gulp, and he just shook his head saying, "Brother, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." My phone started exploding with messages. Sarah called like 20 times in a row. I didn't answer any. Emma sent a text saying, "Dad, can we talk, please?" Lily sent one saying, "Dad, I'm so sorry, please don't be mad." Lily sent like 10 more messages, all saying, I'm sorry. I didn't know what to do. Mom asked me not to say anything. Emma only sent that first message and then nothing else. I didn't sleep at all that night. I stayed in Thomas's guest room, reading all the messages. Sarah was sending things like, "It was a mistake. We can fix it. Please come home. I love you." Lily kept apologizing, saying she was so sorry for lying to me, that she didn't want to hurt me, that Mom had asked her to cover for her, and she didn't know what to do. Emma, my Emma, who was always so correct and responsible, sent only one more message that said, "Dad, you're overreacting. Everyone makes mistakes. Mom loves you." I read that message like 50 times, trying to understand how my daughter could think I was overreacting for discovering that her mother was cheating on me and that they had actively lied to cover it up. Saturday morning, after basically not sleeping at all and feeling like I'd been run over by a truck, I called a divorce lawyer. Not just any lawyer, the most aggressive one I could find. One a friend had used who had a reputation for destroying the other party. I told him the whole story, sent him the photos, the messages, everything. He told me I had a solid case, that documented infidelity would favor us in the divorce, and that he'd start the papers immediately. Then I called the bank and separated our finances. I took out my share of money from our joint accounts, closed the shared credit cards, basically made sure Sarah couldn't touch my money. Sounds cold, I know. But I was functioning on autopilot, doing what I had to do to protect myself. Sarah showed up at Thomas's house that Saturday afternoon. Thomas didn't let her in, but she knocked on the door for 20 minutes, begging me to talk to her. I finally came out because the neighbors were already looking. We stood in the front yard, and she had her eyes all red like she'd been crying all night. And she started saying, "Michael, please, we can fix it. It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything." I asked her how long it had been going on, and she didn't want to tell me. Kept saying it didn't matter, that it was over, that it would never happen again. I told her that if she didn't tell me the truth right now, I was going to find out anyway through the divorce process, and it would be worse. She stayed quiet for a moment, and then said almost a year. Almost a year. She had been sleeping with her boss for almost a year, lying for almost a year, and my daughters knew, or at least suspected, and none of them told me anything. I asked her if she had ever planned to tell me, and she said she didn't know, that she was confused, that she wasn't happy in our marriage, that she felt invisible. I told her that if she wasn't happy, she should have told me something. We should have gone to therapy, worked on it, but instead, she decided to destroy 30 years of marriage by sleeping with another man and turning our daughters into accomplices to her lies. She tried to hug me, and I backed away like I'd been burned. I told her my lawyer would contact her about the divorce and not to contact me directly again. Then came the issue of Emma and Lily. Emma was getting married in 3 months. We had everything planned. I was going to pay for most of the wedding because that's what fathers do, right? Her fiancé, Jake, was a good guy. I really liked him. We'd spent time together. I felt like I was giving my daughter to good hands. But now knowing that Emma had been covering for her mother, that she had lied directly to my face, that she had sent me that message saying I was overreacting. I couldn't just move forward like nothing had happened. I sent her a message saying we needed to talk. She responded that we could meet at a coffee shop near her work. We met the following Tuesday. She arrived with her laptop and her glasses, fresh out of the office, all professional and composed. We sat down and ordered coffee, and she started with Dad. I know you're upset, but you have to understand that Mom was going through a difficult time. I asked her how long she'd known about the affair, and she said she'd suspected for like 6 months, but Mom had confirmed it 3 months ago and asked her not to tell me because she was going to end the relationship with David. And fix things with me, I said, Emma. Do you really think that's okay? Keeping a secret like that from your own father for 3 months? She shrugged, literally shrugged, and said Mom is my mother too. I couldn't betray her. That's when I told her I wasn't going to pay for her wedding. She went pale, like completely pale, and said, Dad, you can't do that. We already sent the invitations. We already booked the venue. Jake and I can't pay for everything ourselves. I told her she should have thought about that before lying to me and covering for her mother. I told her that her loyalty was clearly with Sarah, not me, and that I wasn't going to finance the wedding of someone who had betrayed me so deeply. She started crying, saying I was being cruel, that I was punishing her for something Mom did, that she was just trying to keep the family together. I told her the family was already broken, that Sarah had broken it with her decisions, and that she had chosen her side. I got up and left the coffee shop, leaving her there crying. Lily was different. She called me crying the day after my meeting with Emma, begging me to meet. I agreed because Lily had always been my sweet girl, the one who used to climb on my lap when she was little and tell me I was her favorite superhero. We met at the park, where I used to take them when they were kids, and she was a mess, eyes swollen, nose red. She hugged me and started apologizing over and over, saying she was so sorry, that she knew she'd done wrong, that Mom had asked her to cover for her and she didn't know how to say no. I asked her when she'd known, and she said Mom had told her like 4 months ago that she'd told her she was in love with David but didn't know what to do, and had asked for her help keeping it secret a little longer while she decided. I said, Lily, do you realize that by doing that, you lied to me for 4 months? Every time I asked you how Mom was, every time we talked about family plans, every time you acted like everything was fine, you were lying to me. She was crying so hard she could barely speak, saying, I'm sorry, Dad. I'm sorry. I didn't want to hurt you. I thought Mom would fix things. I thought if I gave her time, she could do the right thing. I asked her if it ever occurred to her that the right thing was to tell me the truth, that I had a right to know my wife was cheating on me. She just kept saying, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please don't hate me, Dad. I didn't hate her. That was the problem. I loved her, loved both my daughters, but couldn't trust them. How could I have a relationship with people who had lied to me so easily for months, who had prioritized their mother's feelings over my basic right to know the truth about my own marriage? I told Lily I needed space, that I couldn't just forgive and forget something like this, that her actions had consequences. She asked me if I still loved her, and I told her yes, but that loving someone doesn't mean you have to allow them to hurt you. I left the park with the sound of her crying following me. That night I reviewed my will. I had Sarah, Emma, and Lily as beneficiaries of everything. My life insurance, my savings, my retirement plan, everything. I called my lawyer and asked him to prepare a new will. I left some money for Thomas for being the only one who had supported me unconditionally, and donated the rest to charities. I completely removed Sarah, Emma, and Lily. When the lawyer asked me if I was sure, I told him I'd never been more sure of anything in my life. Why would I leave my money to people who had betrayed me so deeply? Thomas thought I was going too far, but he didn't understand. Couldn't understand what it felt like to know your entire family conspired against you. Lily's messages kept coming for weeks. Dad, please, can we talk? I miss you. I'm so sorry. Give me another chance. Emma sent a long email, like 3 pages, saying I was being selfish, that Mom had made a mistake but was still my wife of 30 years, that we should think about the family, that her wedding was important and I was ruining it out of pride. I read that email like 20 times, feeling a mixture of disbelief and rage. Selfish? I was selfish for not wanting to be with a woman who had cheated on me for a year, For not wanting to finance the wedding of a daughter who had lied to and betrayed me? The audacity was impressive, really. Sarah tried to contact me through mutual friends. Several of them called me saying she was devastated, that she really was sorry, that I should at least listen to her. Some even told me I was being too harsh, that marriages go through difficult things, that 30 years deserved a second chance. But none of them understood that it wasn't just the affair. It was the systematic lying. It was that my own daughters had betrayed me. It was that all of them had decided I didn't deserve to know the truth. I cut contact with those friends too, blocked their numbers, stopped answering their messages. If they wanted to be on Sarah's side, fine, but I wasn't going to subject myself to their sermons about forgiveness and family. The divorce process moved fast. Sarah didn't fight much, probably because she knew I had all the evidence against her. Her lawyer tried to negotiate an equitable division of assets, but mine was relentless, using the photos, the messages, everything to push for a favorable settlement for me. We ended up dividing most of the assets 50-50, but I kept the house, which I was going to sell anyway because I couldn't be there with all those memories. Sarah signed the papers without much drama. I heard through third parties that she and David are no longer together. Apparently he broke up with her when he found out about the divorce. Typical. But honestly, I don't care. She made her bed. Now she has to lie in it. Emma had to significantly reduce her wedding. I heard that Jake and his family paid for most of it, and that they ended up with something much smaller than they had originally planned. Part of me felt bad for Jake. He hadn't done anything wrong, but it wasn't my problem. Emma had made her choices. I didn't go to the wedding, obviously. I didn't even know when exactly it was. I had blocked Emma too eventually because her messages oscillated between pleading and accusatory. One day, she'd tell me, "Please, Dad, I miss you." The next, she'd tell me I was destroying the family. For being stubborn and proud. I didn't have energy for that. Lily kept trying longer than Emma. She'd send me messages every 2 weeks or so. Little updates about her life, telling me she loved me, that she hoped I was okay, that she wanted to fix things someday. I didn't respond to any. Not because I hated her, but because I didn't know what to say. What are you supposed to say to your daughter, who loved you but lied to you for months about something so fundamental? Eventually, her messages stopped too. Or maybe I blocked her without realizing it. Honestly, I don't remember. Now, a month after all this mess, I'm still living with Thomas while I look for my own place. I sold the house, kept my share of the money, started going to the gym because I needed to do something with all this rage. I've been seeing a therapist, one Thomas recommended, and we're working on processing all this. He often asks me if I think I'll ever be able to forgive them, and honestly, I don't know. Part of me understands that Sarah was unhappy, that maybe the marriage wasn't working, for her, but the other part can't get over the fact that she spent an entire year lying to me, potentially exposing me to diseases, spending our money on her affair, while I kept going thinking everything was fine. And the girls, God, the girls are what hurts the most. Emma, at 26, so smart and capable, thought it was okay to lie to her father for 3 months, thought it was okay to tell me I was overreacting for being devastated. Lily, at 24, my baby, the sweet one who used to climb on my lap, thought keeping Mom's secret was more important than my right to know the truth. I don't know if I'll ever be able to look at them the same way. I don't know if I want to. Some people tell me I'm too harsh, that eventually I'll regret cutting off my entire family, that life is short and forgiveness is important. But I don't see this as lack of forgiveness. I see it as self-preservation. How do you keep people in your life who proved they're capable of lying to you so easily about such important everythings? How do you trust again? I don't know if I can. I don't know if I want to try. For now, I'm focusing on myself, on building a new life, on figuring out who I am without Sarah, without Emma, without Lily, without the family I thought I had for 30 years. The divorce was finalized 2 weeks ago. Sarah is living with a friend, I heard, and still works at the same company with David, although they're not together anymore, which I find ironic. Emma is married now, I guess, though I don't have the details. Lily is still living alone, working at her usual job, probably wondering if her dad will ever talk to her again. And I'm here, At my brother's house, trying to figure out how to move forward. I don't know how long it's going to take me. I don't know if I'll ever feel whole again. But I'm taking it one day at a time. I guess. That's all I can do for now.